unalived his wife and shot his stepdaughter in the face.
Right. And she
Why?
miraculously survived.
Why? Because his wife, Crystal Kenney, asked him to change the channel when his beloved 49ers football team were well ahead. The 49ers won. And she suggested changing the channel so they could watch something else. What is Jason Kenney's response? Unaliving her. When men are allowed to continue patriarchy, they're allowed to be the head of household when they can't even be the leader of themselves. Male dysregulation, male emotional dysregulation, male emotional unintelligence is reaching fever pitches right now. And we have a few examples. I'm here with Brandon. We're going to talk about this. And what can we do? What can we say to make a difference in this conversation? And spoiler, virtually nothing. Brandon, what do you think of this situation? Here's a man who unalived his wife, a history of violence.
He had a drug history too. Apparently, on the crime scene, they found a letter from the wife saying, please do something about your drug habit. Apparently, he was using cocaine, and it's asking him to find God. And then, of course, this terrible tragedy happened. I mean, what do I think of this? It's, I guess, a symptom of men who aren't taught to be emotionally aware and how to solve the negative emotions, the negative things that happens to everyone in life in a way that is effective or good in any semblance of the word.
For a man, and by the way, male violence, no matter what statistics or percentages that you are looking at, because it's anywhere from 80% to 92%, the majority of violence in the United States is men. All of the major violent crimes, unaliving, slaughter, rape, are done by men, not women. And when you have a society literally built by men for men, and Brandon, you and I are both from the advertising world. Did you know that toothpaste was made for men, that it's actually not made for women's mouths who have much more acidic oral environments than men and therefore need different care? Did you know that?
I had no idea about that. I
It's
know that.
literally a society made by men for men.
Wow.
And for any man to have such insane entitlement to unalive his wife because she suggested changing the channel from his beloved 49ers football team, that is insanity. That is impermissible in society.
What is the greatest threat to women in our society at this point? We've conquered the elements. We have food, we have shelter, we have electricity, we have labor-saving devices. We have so much. So what are the greatest threats? Probably disease and cancer, stuff like that. And men.
For women, it's men. Number one, first and foremost. And ironically, it's men that they love, that are in their home, their partner, who is the most violent person that they need to be afraid of. I'm going to go over here and play a clip from Dean Withers live yesterday.
Mhm.
I watched the whole thing, but check this part out.
And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. I'm inspecting. I want to make sure that
You're like
everything
a doctor.
is good.
You're there.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? They're standing there with no.
So right here,
It's gross.
Dean Withers is playing that clip for a Trumper, somebody who needs Dean to prove to him that Trump is actually predatorial to women. And the caller's assertion and Brandon, I'd love your response to this, was since Trump is the owner of the pageant, he essentially owns the models. And therefore, he's allowed to inspect. Now, in that clip, did it sound like Trump incriminated himself that he actually did that? Let's just, before you answer, I think there's a little more.
Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible looking women. And so I sort of get away with things like that.
So I sort of get away with things like that. Does that imply that he actually did it?
I think absolutely. In that case, and oh man,
and yet the
so
caller has said, and yet the caller that Dean is talking to very explicitly said multiple times that all Trump was saying was he was allowed and he did not actually do that. So Dean kept playing it, and let's just play this out for one more minute.
The context only makes it worse. And your takeaway is to laugh at that. Your takeaway is to laugh at that. You know, I'm just going to be honest with you, man. You're a real sick, disgusting POS. I think that we did no, pipe down. Put yourself on mute. Do not speak until I'm done speaking. Be a good little boy for me. I think it's time that we stop normalizing the unnormal, making sane out of the insane. Even the way that I address these debates normalizes the insane.
Right there, having to put a man on mute because he's laughing at Dean's assertion that that's predatorial. And so there's a woman on this live yesterday, and she was trying to help the caller become aware. I'm straying from the word educate about grape culture. And the caller wouldn't bite. The caller wouldn't believe. The caller would not concede his point that Donald Trump is just simply allowed and didn't do anything wrong. Regardless of if it happened or didn't happen, it really didn't matter. And, you know, they tried to get around it like, well, if your mom is changing in the dressing room and I go in there and just watch her, is that okay?
What?
And he says, no, that's not okay. Then why is it okay for Trump? Because he's the owner. Oh. And then they're like, oh, so he's basically the pimp. You know, so the idea that men, and you can tell by the sound of in his voice, you didn't hear him, but he's a young man. That men, especially on the right, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I don't know what you are, and it doesn't matter, Brandon.
Right.
The fact of the matter is, no man, regardless of political affiliation, should justify those actions by another man, especially the president of the United States. What do you think about that?
It's really gross. It's sad. It's disgusting.
Do you think men are savable?
Are savable?
Yeah. Are we men savable? As you know, because Dean went so far as to say you should not be allowed to exist in society. And I wholeheartedly agree. What do you think about that?
The guy's laughing at Trump basically doing what he wills because he has power over these people.
There were underage girls in that area that he is, quote unquote, allowed to go.
It is. It's beyond the pale. And to even debate it and consider it even remotely acceptable is repugnant. But what does that mean in practice to not allow someone within society? That's my question.
I don't have an answer to that because these are unprecedented times. I do not condone violence.
No.
I'm not saying that we should violently remove them from society. But at the same time, if you can't participate in society, you should not have the same rights as everybody else. If you are violent by nature and you condone violence because you do not see anything wrong with it as a patriarchal man, that should not be allowed in society. What are the consequences other than to call them out?
Right. So politeness is out the window. We can't afford to be polite with such bald face, ignorance, and evil.
Let's say his name is George. George here is a proponent of grape culture. Everybody needs to know that, so that if you participate in life with him, you are essentially saying that's okay. If that's okay with you, that's great for you to let us know because we are not going to participate with you. But
Mhm.
that's going to create an even bigger fracturing in America. America is tremendously fractured right now politically. I have never in my lifetime, I'm 46 years old,
Right.
seen so much political fracturing, so much societal fracturing because of one man and because patriarchy is allowed to exist in this toxic negative form that is obviously hurting women, obviously harming society, and men like what Dean is going off about very passionately, there's more of them than we can count.
And it'll take time to fix. I mean, this George, whatever his name was, the one that was laughing like an a-hole. I mean, if we take a look at his dad, we probably won't be very impressed either. Like, he was raised to be like this. Everyone's a little baby innocent, but a sponge for better, or in this case, for worse. So can it be solved? Are men savable over the long term? But like a child soldier, some men just don't know what they don't know. They know not what they do, to quote that famous line in the Bible.
Well, and when you're called out on it and you're given ample reason, like for instance, he kept asserting that Trump is allowed. And then one of the people on Dean's team has talked about how he used to work at a strip club
Hmm.
and that wasn't even allowed at the club for men to go in there to check on the talent.
Right.
A woman manager would go in. She was the one that was allowed to. And the only other people that are allowed at pageants to go into the backstage or dressing room areas are uh, wardrobe and makeup. And those
Right.
are women.
Yeah.
So the fact that this man is adamantly disagreeing with Dean and asserting that Trump has that right, there are more men because the majority of this country voted for Trump. That means
Mhm.
I'm sure that we could break it down that the majority of men are also voting for Trump and not only support him, but believe these things on their own. And in fact, Trump has this is my opinion, not I'm because I definitely don't want to put anything in your mouth or anybody else's.
Mhm.
Trump, his biggest negative impact on society was giving men permission to act like this, to
Mm.
embrace their predatorial side, and to normalize it in society so that they do not feel like they are bad or doing anything wrong, that they are being real men. What is a real man,
Right.
Brandon?
What is a real man? The old definition or the new one we're trying to formulate in this podcast.
I would say, if you were to ask me, a man is somebody who knows how to, number one, be his own self leader.
Right.
I'm not looking for you or my partner to tell me how to be or how to do or how to act in life. But I have created the rules that, in my, to the best of my ability, to not hurt other people in order for me to be happy.
Mhm.
In this call yesterday, the guy that they're trying to educate about great culture was asserting that if if these women that Trump predatorized had in fact been predatorized, they would have taken legal action, which they
Which
did.
is absolutely, yeah.
The
But even
criminal
then,
courts
actually,
rejected it. I
yeah.
wonder why. They won civil suits, which does include discovery and does include the circumstances of predatorizing, rape. And so Trump has actually been found guilty of that.
Right.
That is
People
our current POTUS.
people have to understand that just because you've been sued doesn't mean you're a bad person. But also, just because you haven't been sued doesn't also mean you're not a bad person.
And yet the caller would not accept that civil suits prove that at all.
Mm.
And that's quite frankly stupid and ignorant. But that is the state of a lot of men right now. Stupid and ignorant. And we'd love to hear you guys in the comments. Please do like and
Yeah.
subscribe.
It really
Go
does
ahead.
help. Trump getting elected really did normalize a lot, or give credence to, or maybe even support some of these behaviors and ways of thinking. Like the fact that he could get elected is the what's the word? Justified it or made it Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Made it go away. He, by getting elected, was able to rewrite the story that men believe, regardless of the ample proof otherwise. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. And what do you want to see more of? Cheers.